The Illusion of Power, Elon Musk and the Theater of Wealth. In the tradition of Niccolò Machiavelli, who dissected the machinery of power with cold precision, let us examine the modern pantheon of so-called tech billionaires, not as sovereigns of their domains, but as courtiers in a grander palace, servants cloaked in the illusion of dominance, performing roles assigned to them by powers far older and more entrenched than Silicon Valley. At the forefront of this theater stands Elon Musk, hailed by media as the richest man in the world. The myth of Musk, eccentric genius, rogue innovator, digital Prometheus, is compelling, but Machiavellian insight demands that we look beyond the mask. Musk, like Gates, Bezos, and Zuckerberg, is not the architect of the global order, but rather a carefully chosen avatar, a pawn whose elevation serves a strategic function, to conceal the true masters of the realm. The usefulness of frontmen. Machiavelli would remind us that a ruler must often act through others to obscure his intentions. The true prince does not dirty his hands if a proxy can achieve the same ends while bearing the cost of public scrutiny. Musk's hypervisibility, his controversial tweets, his space ventures, and culture war antics. These serve as spectacle. While the world obsesses over his every word, the ancient financial dynasties, the Rothschilds of Europe, the Rockefellers of America, continue to operate in near total obscurity. It is no accident. The Rothschild banking dynasty has, for over 2 centuries, acted as a global lender of last resort, extending credit to kings, underwriting empires, and shaping monetary policy from behind the veil. The Rockefellers, through foundations and think tanks like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, have shaped American foreign and domestic policy for generations. Their wealth is not measured in Forbes rankings. It is measured in ownership of central banks, control over supranational institutions, and the ability to influence entire markets through invisible strings. In contrast, Musk's fortune is tied to publicly traded companies, Tesla, SpaceX, X, and others, which are vulnerable to market manipulation and government oversight. His wealth is visible, fragile, and ultimately superficial. The Mars Mirage. Among the most theatrical of Musk's distractions is the so-called Mars colonization project. A fantasy tailor-made for headlines and public fascination, it serves as a grand narrative of escape and progress. But from a Machiavellian perspective, it is nothing more than carefully manufactured illusion. Musk knows perfectly well that the Mars project is a fabrication, science fiction dressed up as strategy. The physics, the funding, the logistics, all point to an impossibility. I do not believe for a single second that his rockets will ever reach Mars, let alone establish a colony. The goal is not colonization, but distraction, a futuristic fairy tale to sustain public awe while the real machinations of power grind on unnoticed. The Starlink deception. Likewise, the Starlink project, marketed as a Musk-led satellite revolution, is no more his invention than Bitcoin was Satoshi Nakamoto's. Starlink is a repackaging of older, classified telecom and military technologies. In truth, the foundation of this low-orbit, ion propulsion-based satellite infrastructure dates back to 1997, when a company led by former U.S. Secretary of State General Alexander Haig and technologist Martine Aliana Rothblatt pioneered the very architecture being redeployed today. What Musk presents as cutting-edge innovation is in fact the public unveiling of a military-industrial technology long in development. Like Bitcoin, a system falsely attributed to a mythical programmer named Satoshi Nakamoto, but likely birthed within intelligence circles, Starlink's real genesis lies in black-budget projects and strategic defense planning. Once again, Musk plays the role of the magician, distracting the crowd while the true architects remain behind the curtain. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and the manufactured elite. Bill Gates was once cast in the same mold. Rising from a privileged background and aided by government contracts and corporate alliances, Gates became the face of the computer revolution. But today, he plays another role, that of global philanthropist and public health crusader. Yet, his so-called philanthropy is tightly interwoven with investment and influence strategies, buying land, funding biotech firms, and influencing policy through the Gates Foundation. Jeff Bezos, too, emerged as a self-made billionaire. But Amazon's ascension was facilitated by CIA cloud contracts via AWS. aggressive tax avoidance, and endless Federal Reserve liquidity that inflated stock markets and allowed such monopolies to thrive. These men are not princes, as Machiavelli defined them. They are tools of the prince, functionaries of a deeper oligarchic order. Their presence is strategic, their influence curated, and their independence illusory. The role of the cabal. What Machiavelli called fortuna, the chaotic element in politics, is tamed today by what some call the cabal, an informal but powerful network of interlocking financial, corporate, and political interests. It is not a secret society with robes and rituals, but a quiet consensus among the ruling class, a shared belief in technocracy, control, and profit above all else. This cabal does not need to announce itself. It operates through private banks, elite foundations, media conglomerates, and intelligence networks. The World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg Group, and similar gatherings act as forums of coordination, not unlike Renaissance courts. And just as Machiavelli advised princes to appear virtuous while pursuing ruthless aims, the cabal cloaks its power in philanthropy, climate initiatives, and diversity slogans, tools of manipulation in a demoralized mass society. Conclusion: the power behind the throne. To a Machiavellian observer, Elon Musk is not a prince, but a jester in a court of shadows. His spectacle distracts while older, quieter powers entrench their dominion. The true rulers do not seek fame. They seek influence without consequence. And those who appear to rule, Musk, Gates, Bezos, do so only because they serve that higher agenda. The richest man in the world is not the one in headlines. He is the one whose name is never spoken, whose power needs no confirmation, and whose will is executed through others. In the words of Machiavelli, it is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Elon Musk may wear the crown of wealth, but the kingdom belongs to others.